Hey there, it's Kelly Donahue Piro, your favorite industry best friend. Well, I'm here to let you know that you've done something great for your agency by joining and listening in on our podcast or watching our YouTube channel. I just want to remind everybody that we're here to help. So if you need anything, drop a comment, go to our website, hang out with our chat, or just contact us. There's a problem in your agency, I got solutions, right? I like to think of it, you got a problem, I'll solve it. But let's get into the content today so that you can improve your awareness and knowledge of solutions that exist to the agency's core challenges.
We really want to make sure that the processes we have in place are benefiting our clients and making them want to work with us instead of driving them away to work with our competition.
We need to have our account managers and our producers or whomever handling what they are supposed to be handling.
Processes don't fail, leadership follow-through does. Hello, friends. Stephen Harrington, Dakota, joined by my friends Sarah and Gina. Hello. Our virtual training development leader and our emerging agency leader. You got all the best of us all in one call today. So we're going to spend a little bit of time with you for our blog banter for the first week of June, talking about the ultimate guide to mastering insurance business optimization. Ooh. Why are processes important is what we're really going to be talking about. So I think a lot of agencies want to do processes and they want to do them well. But what does that really mean? How can two account managers with the same book get completely different results? Some would say because one's better. Or what are some other options, my friend?
One's following a process.
Ooh, what's following a process? We're all shouting it out loud and clear for the land to hear, right? Probably somebody's following better processes. We have to make it happen. So there's three types of agencies we normally work with. The first one being no processes. Everybody just kind of does what they want to do. It's worked okay. We've grown. We're still making some money. Maybe not the most efficient or effective, but we might also be afraid of the team revolting if we have them follow process. So we just let them do whatever they need to do. Sarah, what's another option?
So I think it's really important to remember that when there's three types of agencies, it's really important to have a strong foundation of what we expect. And we also need to inspect what we expect. So I think when we talk about having no procedures, that interprets to chaos, where everybody's kind of doing a little bit of this over here, a little bit of that over there. And your clients are going to feel that because they may talk to one person and they're like, this is fantastic. This is great. I always want to talk to that person because they have a process that may not be as clear or as defined as somebody else in the office. So it's really important that we set guidelines and expectations of what we expect our client experience to look like.
You know, what happens when we have processes, but they're not followed?
This is where we have to hold people accountable. And then this is where our process can either take off and really work, or you just fall back into that cycle of, well, we tried processes and they didn't work, when in reality, we're not going back and, like Sarah said, inspecting what we're expecting our team to do and then holding them accountable to it. So we need to go back, revisit it, make sure they understand there's not a knowledge gap, they know how to execute it, and hold them to that expectation.
And I think part of like what I love to remind team members when we're doing trainings is, guys, you might have done things in the past, but nobody paid attention to it. So you just ignored it for a couple of weeks till it went away.
Right.
Everybody nods their head. They're like, yeah, that's great. Sure, I'll do that. And then you go back to doing things the way you did because nobody was ever going to look at it. Unfortunately, or fortunately, when we're here, that's not how life happens, right? We believed in processes being enforced. If we're going to go through the time, effort, and energy, we need to do them the right way and make sure we're getting a fair result. So I think a lot of times people don't follow processes because lack of clear leadership or accountability, right? We kind of already talked about that. So how do we get to a better place where we know that it's a solid process? We know that the team can do it. And we figure out, are they just not doing it? Or is there something that's making it difficult for them to follow the process? So, like, what goes into kind of a good process? Does anybody have thoughts?
So I think it really boils down to sometimes where it's hard to see the picture when you're standing in the frame. And it's one of those things when we are creating processes, we want to keep the customer's experience in mind as well. Just because at the end of the day, if we had no clients, we'd have no business. Right. And so we really want to make sure that the processes we have in place are benefiting our clients and making them want to work with us instead of driving them away to work with our competition.
I think it also helps figure out where weak points are on teams so we can identify. My theory is I was like, if you guys do this for 10 days consistently, at least it's starting to become a habit, I can then look for weaknesses in other training opportunities.
Sure.
But if you keep defaulting back to the other way, I have no way to track to see if it's me that broke it or if it's you that needs additional assistance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we roll out processes and they are a little more complicated than they need to be. Or there's no real reason why. We just woke up and we're like, shut up. We should answer our phones different. And I also like to think about what's going to change on Monday if I instill a process.
Mm-hmm.
If nothing's going to change, why do I need to change a process? Right? So like a week from now, what should the expected result be? And sometimes, like Sarah was saying, when you're in the frame, it's hard to see the picture. You need to take the step back to see the why behind the reason for change. I think people also learn different ways. So we need to make sure we're giving it to them in a visual way, sometimes hands-on training, a video, a filed step-by-step document, whatever it may be, which seems complicated. But we can't just send an email that says, here's a new process and expect everybody just to follow it the next morning. So we need a way to release it, and we need some why behind it. We need the mission. We need what the expected outcomes are. We need the steps to follow. And we really need to define what our biggest challenges are. And if it's going to work 80% of the time, I think it's a great process. We can build the other 20. But my favorite pushback is, well, Susan in the back office that knows the carrier that has 3 policies that renew every 2 years and has to log into the DOS-based system is the only one that can do it. And this process is never going to work.
Ever.
And I'm like, right. For those 3 policies that renew every other year that only one person knows what to do with it anyway.
Yeah.
We could have Susan write a process for that one time every 2 years that this happens. I don't need it to work for that. I need it to work for the general masses. So when we look at the higher level, we tend to recommend 10 core processes. Gina, do you want to talk about 1 or 2 of them?
2 that I always like to start with an agency that I think should be your fundamentals are phone answering and transferring and documentation. So phone answering and transferring is, are we all answering the phone in a uniform way with an energetic, welcoming greeting? Or do we have Bob who's like, hey, I'm your agent. And then we get, what can I do? And Sarah's like, oh my God, hey, I'm so happy to help you today. What can I do for you? Making sure it's uniform. And that way clients begin to understand that when they call your agency, they're getting a full experience from the way they answer it to the very end. Additionally, educating our clients on why they need to be transferred to specific people for specific items. Your producer might have been great and bonded with you and built rapport while building your policies out, but they may not be the best person in the agency to add your vehicles and add your drivers. We need to have our account managers and our producers or whomever handling what they are supposed to be handling. And then once we figure out how to answer the phone and get stuff to where it needs to go, we need to go into the management system and document. I said, we need to go into the management system and document. Everything we do starts and ends within our management system. So if we're not putting notes in there about what the client's calling for, the outcome, no one's going to know what's happening with this file. And we use the example that if somebody like won the lottery on lunch and never came back, someone should be able to pick up their accounts and have an idea of what's happening on that profile. So those are two that I like to start with because it's a launching point for the rest of the processes.
And being a former manager of an agency, I used to make fun of the answer and transfer process, right? I'm like, why do we need an answer transfer? Everybody knows how to answer the phone.
Mhm.
And I started listening to recorded calls and I was like, or maybe we don't know how to answer it. But like, I thought it was pretty simple. It's like, it's a great day at XYZ agency. How can I assist you today? This is Steven. Oh no, it was like you said, like, what's up? Insurance, please.
You want something?
Right. What do you need? So I did see a true value in that and clearly defining who the call should be transferred to, even if it's not what the client's asking for.
Right.
Sarah, what are some of your ideas on processes? What do you like or what do you see?
So I'm very passionate about two processes. One of my favorites is the cancellation process. Because, like Stephen mentioned, sometimes they're listening to recorded calls and like sometimes they're like, I want to cancel my policy.
Yay!
We get a reaction of, oh, okay. Well, when do you want that to go into effect? And that's kind of it. And they just let it roll. And I think sometimes we have a lot of clients that we actually need to fight for. We need to advocate for. And in an independent insurance perspective, if you want to cancel because of price, we may be able to do something about that. Let's double check your policy. Let's see what discounts you're eligible. Worst case worse, we could even reshop you and find you a new carrier that may better fit your needs. But instead of just kind of rolling over and being like, oh, okay, well, there's another policy out the door, we do need to have a process in place where we're actually advocating to keep those policies. Another one that I really like to talk about quite a bit is definitely payments, right?
Mm.
So payments, you have people who may call you every single month and they're like, hey, it's time to take my payment. You may also have some people who love to come into the office and pay you in quarters or pennies.
Y'all.
I think it's really important that, this client may have the perspective of, well, Susie in the office always takes my quarters. So everybody's going to take my quarters. And I think it's really important that people know what your guidelines or your expectations are for payments. And they're also not afraid to put them on auto pay or talk about some of the self-serving payment options that are available to your clients. And I think it's really important to outline a process to bring that up. Whether it's on every single payment call that you take, you can just remind your clients, hey, you could process this payment on our app, or hey, we could set this up for auto pay so you don't have to talk to me, even though I know you love to talk to me. So I think those are two processes that I feel are definitely important.
The one that I will fight for all day, besides phone answer transfer, right? I think they're all important, but like I will fight in the street or in the parking lot over the renewal process. What expectation should the client have of contact prior to the getting a bill? Like they're paying a lot of money for something, right? So if we're just taking orders all day long, like McDonald's, like a drive-through, like next, 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 and that's our client experience, great. But we're going to lose a whole lot of clients because of that. We need to define what steps do we take prior to a renewal? What conversations should we have? How proactive do we need to be to get ahead of rate change or missing information, right? And sometimes it's an email, it's automation, it's booking, it's phone calls, whatever it may be. And we have a great renewal process. But I think if we can get our team to stop reshopping every single thing that comes across their desk or every time a client is price sensitive and get really proactive into a renewal process that we build into a remarketing process, I think we can actually save a lot of clients and build great relationships, especially as markets shift. The most successful agencies had a strong renewal process going into a hard market. The client stayed because at least they knew they were getting that call every year to review their account. Right. It wasn't just silence and waiting for a reaction. I think it also reduces stress with the team. So as we go through, my friend, can we go back to the very beginning? Like, how do we get our team excited or bought into processes? How can we release it and get them to understand?
So I think processes can be very overwhelming. And a lot of times people can be a little bit scared about the unexpected or things that they're not familiar with. So we want to build excitement about this. And I think it's also really important that we plan, right? As much as we'd love to implement all of the processes we've talked about at the same time, maybe it's important to actually get one down to a science before we start adding in a couple of more, right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to identify when we're actually going to start this process, and then we need to plan a party. We need to be really excited. We can have a theme. We can go out to lunch, but we want to actually start building some anticipation and excitement that this process is a better thing for the agency as a whole. And this is something that we need to celebrate instead of just kind of plopping a pile of paperwork on somebody's desk and be like, congratulations, you're doing this.
And I know previously, like we would do every couple of weeks would be a major process, right? Like a big header, but it was like once a month, and then we would monitor it and get people adjusted for a month. Once we got through most of the major ones, it was like every week we started micro processes, like little tweaks that needed to change. And at one point, my team was like, why is there a different process every week? And I'm like, well, until systems stop changing, the market stops doing whatever it's doing, carriers don't have any updates, or technology stops growing, we need at least many things consistently, so it's not every month we have overwhelming amounts of things to change, right? Would you rather have little bite-sized pieces every week and know it's coming? Or just surprise, here's a whole new process to deal with. And they're like, weekly. Oh my God, it's 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes, we go through it, we move on with our day, right? So I think there's a lot of great advice there. What if people don't follow it, Gina? What happens?
We have to hold them accountable. And this is a sticky point because I feel like if you're not used to holding your team accountable to something, you get the pushback of, well, I don't want to micromanage. But there is a difference between managing to a process that you have versus you spent 3 minutes in the bathroom. Please tell me what was going on. That's micromanaging versus managing. So when it comes to holding people accountable, I mean asking them, how is the process going? Is there anything that's unclear? Anything you need a refresher on? There just might be a knowledge gap. Maybe they feel that they should have caught on to it, but they're missing a piece and they don't know how to ask for that help. And if we're not following up and holding them accountable to it, they're not getting that chance to ask their questions. So ask your team for feedback, ask what isn't or isn't working, where they need more refreshers on, and then audit it by looking at your data. Things should be trending in a positive direction if they're truly documenting everything. If they are selling more because they're following the new business process, that should be trending. So going back to the data too to see how people are adhering to it.
I think it's also really important to set the expectation of we're doing this, right?
Yeah.
If you phrase it as we have a new process, and if you want to do it on some days, you can. If you don't, on other days, that's fine. It's really hard to put an accountability metric onto that.
Yeah.
And so setting that expectation in the forefront of, hey, we're all going to start doing this. That way it's not a surprise when you do start auditing later is very important.
Right. And like you said in the beginning, making it exciting for the team. Also phrase it too, a lot of times when a process needs to be put into place or revamped is because we're hearing things from the team. Like, this is too hard. I'm too busy. This isn't working. So then as your leaders, you take that feedback and you give them this process in a positive way to help figure out their pain points and make their jobs easier. That's exciting.
The thrill. Everybody loves it. And I think like my mantra for this year, and it took me like I had to say it in the mirror 100 times to believe it, but now I love it, is accountability can be fun, right?
Sure.
Like nobody loves accountability till they see the result. And then they're like, okay, this is amazing. Like it's a little less stressful, or I can see the note, or now we're all doing things the same way. So I just have to constantly keep in mind accountability is fun. So if I'm not holding team members accountable, or if I'm not holding, clients and things accountable, am I really doing my best job? And as we dive deeper into our next blog about revamping and modifying workflows and processes, we'll talk a little bit more about that. So I want to leave us with this. First of all, we have our 10 processes available. Clickable links are in the blog. You can always find us on our website, agencyperformancepartners.com. But here's our closing thought. Are you ready? Processes don't fail. Leadership follow-through does. If we don't hold anybody accountable, it's never going to happen. So we got to get comfortable with instilling a better workplace for everybody. Until next time, my friends, we will see you later.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It is so fun giving you guys tips and tricks every single, week out there. Remember, you can find us on social media for updates. You can like or comment on this podcast or video, and we're here for you. And check out our website. There's a ton of tools. We have over 1,000 blogs on our website. We have over 1,000 videos on YouTube. You can search and find answers to your top questions. But also, if you need a little bit more help, you want a best friend that's there cheerleading for you, giving you the guidance that you need, and being there on some of those tough days, let us know. We'd love to meet your agency and learn if we're a good fit. All right, signing off. Go sell insurance. Hey there.